Hello, friends. How you doing this morning? So I wanted to tackle a topic from personal experience that I actually hear being talked about or debated on social media via some Facebook groups that I'm a part of. And this happens to be in the apartment or multi-sector space. And there seems to be a raging debate um, about a topic. And the topic basically is what happens to C-class properties when there is a downturn, right? Uh, I, you know, I've lived through a downturn or invested through a downturn and owned C-class apartments. So I'm going to give you my opinion on what happens. But here's the kind of debate, right? On one side, it's typically the people who are buying. It could be principals, general partners, could be limited partners. It's basically people looking to commit capital into what you've heard me call a pretty hot market today. And their thesis is, yes, we are going to have a business cycle, and that's going to be good for me because we are buying an apartment building and going to have the best product for a downturn. People are going to want to rent here, and we're going to increase occupancy, and we're going to skate through the downturn because we have the one asset class that everybody wants, right? Wants to rent. That's one thought, right? And their basic thesis is rental occupancy will go up and rents will go up because they have the only thing that people can afford. It's the general thesis of the buyers. Then on the other side, you have the sellers who are basically saying, you don't know what you're talking about. We've owned these C-class properties, right? They don't get better in a down market, right? They are as good as they are ever going to get as far as occupancy, rental increases, and the like. And they are selling. So they both have their opinions, and they're both, near as I can tell, very, very rational and very passionate. I don't think there's any secret that I have been a net seller of C-class properties here the last, 12 months. Probably getting rid of a third of those units. And I do that with feeling good, frankly. I feel really good about the idea. We've replaced those units in cash flow with others, so it's, we're still growing. But here's the deal. They're both right and they're both wrong, in my opinion. So how could that be? Well, does occupancy in C-class apartment buildings go up if you just look at the top line number? The answer is yes. I saw the highest occupancy in my C-class apartment buildings during the last business cycle. People were getting out of houses and retrenching and lowering monthly expenses, and that means houses went to apartments and A and B went to C. So my occupancy went up. So, with that, why would I sell? But here's what the buyers don't understand, or I'm sure they understand, that's probably the wrong word, don't appreciate. My occupancy, as I just said, was the highest it ever been during the last business cycle. However, I lost money that year. Here's why. This is hard. The people that were in my buildings and happy during the peak of the last cycle were the individuals that were, frankly, living paycheck to paycheck. And they were likely going to be renters their whole life, right? They had incomes that barely meant the minimums to get into apartments, and they really had no hope because of spending habits or savings habits or whatever of going to a house. So when the business cycle snapped back, those individuals that couldn't afford a hiccup in income had to go. Some left on their own because they had to move in with family or whatever. Some forced me to evict them. So I had the highest evictions I'd ever had during that same downturn, meaning it seemed like I had one a month when I usually average 5 or 6 a year, right? So it maybe 2 a month there for a little while. So I was having evictions, which in California meant I had 60 to 90 days. And then I had turns. I both had turns in evictions, and I had turns from people just saying, hey, I can't afford it. I'm going to go move in with mom and dad, or, 5 of us are going to rent a house or whatever, right? Whatever they did, right? They left peacefully, but begrudgingly, because they would rather live in their own unit, and now they were partnering up with other people. So how can I have my highest occupancy ever? Well, they're right. People from houses to A and B apartments moved down. But that meant I lost the people that were in my C class before the crash or before the rollover in the business cycle. And unfortunately, even an apartment building with relatively clean tenants, I'm going to have $750, $1,000 repair bill. And if they left begrudgingly, I'm going to probably spend $4,000 to $5,000 on the repairs. So again, in a year where the business cycle snapped back, you can have the highest occupancy of my 10 or 12 years of owning it and still lose. This is what people I don't think appreciate that's going on today. The C-class apartment building is priced for perfection, like I've never seen it before. I frankly think they're overpriced in most markets. And it's because of my experience. I know what happens to C-class properties in a downturn. You're going to lose 20 to 40% of your tenants, some on their own, others by force, and you're going to replace them with quote unquote better tenants. You're the landlord. You still got to pay for those repair bills. And those repair bills are going to eat your lunch. So this is why I think both sides are right. I think if you just want to tell yourself that occupancy rates are going to be the highest ever, you're right. And if you're a seller, you're right. I got to tell you, there are people today overpaying for C-class properties under the misguided interpretation of the data. I've owned them. I know what's going to happen. You are going to have the highest occupancy ever. Congratulations. You're probably going to have some rent increases. Congratulations. But you are going to lose 20% of your tenants in a 6 to 9 month window. And I don't know any landlord or any building that can afford 20% of their units turning in a 6 month period. It's gonna suck. So I just thought I would tackle this because I see it talked a lot about. And let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Ask your questions. I do have that subscriber questions. Hit that like button. And of course, subscribe. That would be great. Take care.